I was delighted and indeed honoured to be invited to give a keynote address at the Faith Forum here in Brasilia. And I wanted to talk about some of the existential threats that the elders are concerned about, which I have the honour to chair. The elders were brought together by Nelson Mandela in 2007 to help to further his ideas, his legacy, if you like. And we work on peace, human rights, and a sustainable planet. And I particularly focused on the climate and nature crisis, saying we have to deal with that in a very holistic way. It's two sides of a coin. We must deal with the climate impacts, the emissions that are causing it, but also the loss of biodiversity. But we must do it with hope. And of course, I quoted Archbishop Tutu, who gave me this wonderful idea of being a prisoner of hope. You must have a positive message, which I do, about climate and nature. And then I also wanted to reinforce the message the elders really want to bring to leaders today. We're in a very fractured, divided, troubled world with two major wars in Ukraine, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and what's happening with Israel and Gaza following those terrible attacks of the 7th of October and the hostage-taking. But we also have other hidden wars like Sudan that don't get enough attention. And so we're calling for long-view leadership, which is a leadership that tries to resolve these problems with thoughtful collaboration, thinking long-term, thinking about the future as well, but being determined to take the necessary steps based on science and reason, but also based on listening to all those affected, so that we have the empathy to know what the real problems are. It is important to think of future generations, and we can learn from the indigenous wisdom, as I quoted, where they talk about the seventh generation. Any major issues or steps taken should bear in mind how it will affect 7 generations on. I like that very much. But it's also part of being hopeful about the serious implications for the climate science, what it's telling us, that we are at a very dangerous point where we only have a few years to make a difference. And how I like to describe that is that we're on the cusp of a wonderful, renewable energy, healthier, safer, fairer world. We're actually moving, and we're moving faster because we have the innovation, but we're not moving nearly fast enough for the science. And what's holding us back? A fossil fuel lobby that is promoting misinformation, disinformation. It's estimated they spend about $4 billion a year doing it. And also, we're spending money on what's harming us. I'm part of a B team of business leaders, and they calculate we spend about $1.8 trillion every year on what is harming us and our planet, namely fossil fuel subsidies and bad land management. If we switch even half that money to promoting the renewable energy, making it affordable, accessible, taking millions of people out of poverty and hunger because they get electricity and can afford to heat their homes, etc. So, the message is one, it's all about political action, and it's all about having really a pressure on leaders to do the right thing. I think the role of religion in our world is very important, and that's why I was pleased to come to this Interfaith Forum. Part of what I wanted to do was to connect the Interfaith Forum with the leadership that we're trying to give as women leaders with what I call Project Dandelion. I spoke about it briefly, that the dandelion, is a great symbol. It grows on every continent. It's very resilient. You can't get rid of it if you want to, but it's also very regenerative of the soil. You can eat or drink any part of it, and you spread it by blowing the seed. And we are already linking with a women, faith and climate group, and I'll be with them in Rome in October. Some of them are here, or have been at this Interfaith Forum, and we really want to emphasize the theme of leaving no one behind, which means listening to every voice, which means having a G20 of interfaith voices that listens to the values of religions, the stewardship of the earth, the way in which so many religious leaders have called before at the Paris Agreement and since for better stewardship, because they're aware that we need to change and leave no one behind.